Good afternoon. Conscious of the time, I will speed through this, but thank you for allowing me to speak briefly about managing and reporting crime. These are the areas I'm going to cover very briefly today, as I've already said. The current environment, where we are currently, in my view, the coordination of protective security measures, and also information intelligence sharing. There is a big debate about information intelligence. I will, if I may, though, just start by saying I came to Westfield, and just for those of you who don't know, of course, Westfield is a property management company, not a retailer. I came to Westfield from banking about 2 years ago, and I was astounded coming from banking by the lack of coordination of crime management and information sharing within the retail sector. I come from a banking environment where we share probably about 98% of everything we've got from a crime perspective with our colleagues. And I came to retail to discover almost the exact opposite. In fact, if I move on to my next slide, the historical perspective, there was a real reticence, and in fact, in some cases, among some senior leaders within my business and perhaps your businesses, there is still a reticence to engage and to share all sorts of business intelligence. There is a lack of momentum. Clearly, there's a great deal of pressure on retailers. And we look after, at Westfield White City, we look after about 350 retailers, all of whom, of course, on a day-to-day basis are trying to make as much money as they can. But there's a real focus around delivering the products that they want to sell as opposed to security and crime management. So that continues to be an issue for me on a day-to-day basis. And the other thing was, when I first joined a couple of years ago, although there have been amazing strides and great support from the Metropolitan Police in delivering information sharing agreements. When I first came to retail, it was, to be quite frank, 2 years ago, it was a bit of a mess. Today, we're in a really great place, and I'm very grateful to my colleagues in the Metropolitan Police for assisting with that. What have we got? What are the good bits, really? Certainly as security professionals, and I've been in the security industry all my life, there is absolute 100% support. Every security professional I speak to just says yes. What do you want? And so there is no real pushback from security professionals. There are also, of course, from police and my local government, London Borough of Hammersmith and Fulham and Newham, again, absolute amazing amount of support and a real drive to get things done and to change things. Support from the private industry, and FaceWatch Disc today, just by this initiative, of course, are lending their support. And I think there are so many in the private security industry who are willing to support. However, I still see among some businesses, and I'm not necessarily focusing on Westfield here, of course, it would be improper, but there is a lack of momentum. What is possible? Information sharing exchanges. The one thing that I'm concerned about is that from a Westfield perspective, and I've been concerned for a couple of years, we gather enormous amounts of information. You know, we're involved in the arrest of offenders, we're involved in the gathering of information intelligence. We might share some of that, we might not. And it is astounding to me that my colleagues in Brent Cross or my colleagues in various other shopping centres, and you saw a picture of the Chimes earlier, why aren't we sharing that intelligence more openly with them? We are trying to. More regional information sharing, I am hoping to invent a partnership within shopping centres. Shopping centres such as the Stratford Centre and the Westfield London Centre, as I say, between those two centres, on a busy day in December, we're looking at 150,000 plus per centre, people passing through us on a daily basis. We're gathering so much information, we've got to start sharing that more openly. Technical security integration is vitally important. And I'll give you a simple example, if I may, and I think we've got to be a bit more provocative. Forget the police for a moment, they're doing a fine job, but they have some real interests, and we heard from Commander Lexford about reductions and how much money they're needing to save this year and next year. But there's so much more we can do if we can just be a little bit inventive. And I'll give you an example of the direction that I'd like to take Westfield, and that is to integrate some of our technical security systems. You know, for example, I don't mind sharing this we have 790 cameras in the Westfield White City Centre alone. Why aren't we linking those cameras up to perhaps the BBC, Imperial College, it's the West 12 Shopping Centre as an example, which is within literally throwing distance of our centre, etc. locally. And that's a thing we're working on for 2015. We have already integrated our entire system with London Borough of Hammersmith Control Room. So the Metropolitan Police can look at our cameras. But why aren't we doing it with our local colleagues who have their own control rooms, who are monitoring and managing crime, in inverted commas? That's the thing we've got to look at and investigate further. Protective security measures. I mentioned to somebody yesterday, and we're all a bit protective actually in a sense about our security officers. In our centres, use VSG, Vision Security Group. Others, particularly in West London, use different groups. But why are we integrating the security services? I want to forget, for example, this competition between, for example, VSG and Group 4 or Group 4 and Securitas, and that does not concern me. What concerns me, actually, is addressing crime and managing crime and ensuring that we're getting the right information into the intelligence processes that we've got, and we're sharing that with all of our other retailers. And I don't mean just the 110 shopping centres within the M25, I mean nationally. That's me. I said I'd keep it short. We're running over time slightly, but I am here for questions later. Thank you.